Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and it is a great honor to introduce everyone to the EV Readiness panel. The EV Readiness panel is sponsored by Vanguard Dealer Services, and I would like to introduce all the panelists to you today, starting off with Tully Williams from the Nilo Company, who is no stranger to the roundtable. Kristen Jones from Vanguard Dealer Services is with us here today. Eric Mayaducky from Vanguard Dealer Services is here as well, along with Kevin Reed from Vanguard. Welcome. And bringing it home is Ed Roberts from Bozard Ford Lincoln. All right. So to kind of set the table, everybody, as we get started today, there was a recent article from McKinsey that said there is a turning point for U.S. auto dealers. It is the unstoppable electric car. And we know that electric vehicles have been the talk of the town, transforming, they say, every aspect of the industry is what it will do. So I want to have a conversation today here at the roundtable for our audience and talk about what are the biggest changes or accelerations or transformations that you expect to see concerning EV sales. So we brought together some very big dealers, both in California, in Tully Williams and Ed Roberts in Florida. So Tully, I want to kind of start with you today. What do you see from your vantage point there in California? And let's get rolling.
So, what we see in California is EVs have always been popular. We've been popular when the Volt came out so long ago, and we sell every electric car. So that fad is not a fad. It is a fact that people want electric automobiles. But here's the thing about when it comes to fixed ops side, is that how do we keep people in the service drive as we are in the repeat and referral business? That is our crucial element. Our element is this: are we selling an F&I product that drives repeat and referral? Are we telling the customer how important it is to come in on a yearly basis, if not bi-yearly basis, for an inspection? Because all we have on a car today is tire rotations and cabin filters and some warranty issues. So as cars get better and better, less visits, and we do not want that affection rate is the hugest deal for us. Now, the other side of it is it's really exciting because the stores are going buzz over of electric automobiles. Our ID4 at Volkswagen is insane. We sell every car. We're sold out. We're number one, number two in the nation, but it gets that excitement, which then in turns gets our great technicians and service advisors excited about that new technology. They want to go to school, they want to learn, and it gives that buzz back in the shop. So we are all in on EV. It is a necessity. CSI, which stands for Customer Supplies Income. Remember, repeat and referral business, yearly inspections are a must.
Tully, it is an exciting time to be in our industry. I agree. I just had David Boyle on the roundtable from Traction. And as you know, they talk about tires and alignments. And two of the things that he pointed out are, number one, is that RO count is expected to decline in the future because of what's happened the last couple of years. And the other thing is that the trigger point for many years, Tully, has been that oil change. And one of the things that David suggested is, we're going to need a new trigger point to have the customer come in. And he's suggesting the tire as an inspection and perhaps even as a rotation. What are your thoughts on that?
100 million%. I think right now it's always been mileage and time. And now with EVs coming out, it's going to be more about time more than mileage. So our goal would be is that we need to have the car inspected for blank time to come in. Tire rotations are a must to keep the tires going. Tires are a number one retention tool, very important, as David knows. Next is going to be is that you also have a cabin filter once a year that you can replace, check wiper blades. And with EV cars, there's going to be a lot of updates. So we want to make sure that car is in top-notch condition where we'll have those updates from the factory. If there's any recalls, not really recalls, but software updates is probably the biggest issue that we see. And they're usually small and great, and people love those.
Tully, you're over in Sacramento. Kristen, you're in the Pacific Northwest. Tell us what you see from your vantage point.
Yeah, I totally agree with Tully that it's a very exciting time in the car business. The theme of today is the roaring 20s. And in some ways, we're still selling cars like we did back in the old days, right? Change is hard. Car dealers are used to using impact printers that we've used since the 80s. And we need to change and evolve for this exciting new time. And I think it's going to be different. I think for a long time we talked about EVs, but they're here now. It's not changing. The business is not going away. So we need to evolve or die. It's exciting. I have young kids, and I just taught my 9-year-old how to gas up a car, which is hilarious because all they talk about is electric vehicles. Because for their generation, that's probably all they're going to know. So it's a really important time for our dealers to teach them and lead them to kind of this next chapter, this next generation of selling cars and making money in the new era. It's exciting.
Kristen, it is. I agree. And you're right. Probably one day in the distant future, our kids and then their kids, they're going to think back at the time, when we actually went to the gas station and put fuel in our vehicles. And that's going to be no more.
Yeah, all they talk about is electric vehicles. But I did teach the 9-year-old how to gas a car. And it's a big blessing to not have to gas my own car.
I love it. Ed, you are in Florida, which I believe is number 2 in EV sales. Ed, what are you seeing there at Bozard Ford Lincoln?
Well, we continue to grow in EV sales, and we still have tons of opportunity in front of us. Our people forever, our salespeople, they've only sold ICE vehicles up to the last few months. And so their mindset when someone comes in and they've done all the research and they want to look at a BEV is, well, let's look at this. They want to shift them back to the other. Well, what they're doing is telling them, I don't want to do business with you. And we got to make sure that they're in tune with the BEVs, because the customers that come in looking for those, the excitement's there. And they've already done all the research. And they've already figured out things to how they overcome obstacles. And it's our job to make sure that they've overcome those. But most of them have already overcome them. So like Tully said, we sell every one that we get. But the easiest way to sell a BEV, even to someone that's looking for a nice vehicle, is let them drive one. When they drive one, they're ready to buy one. The thing behind that is you got to have one to sell them. And but they're coming more and more. We continue to increase every month in what we sell in BEVs, and I'm hoping the mine to come in any day now.
Ed, it's funny you mentioned that. Bob Tasca, who's a very well-known dealer in the Northeast, Bob Tasca is known not just for the Tasca family dealerships, but also for the fact that he is in racing. Okay. And Bob Tasca was recently on the program and talked about he personally now drives, Ed, and he's Ford, just like you, an EV, and how impressed he is with that EV. And he told our audience he's never going back to the ICE, in terms of his personal vehicle. And he's so impressed with it.
Absolutely. And right now I have 2 plug-in hybrids, and I'm waiting on a full EV. Once I get my full EV any day now, every one of the vehicles that sits in my driveway will be a plug-in, some type of plug-in. So it's the transition.
Ed, quick, give us the lay of the land. What percentage of, and I know you're high volume there at Bozard, what percentage of your new vehicle sales are EVs today?
We're a few months deep into being in the double-digit mark. Before that, it was 2, 3, 4%. A few months back, we broke the 10% mark, and it continues to grow from there. And I don't foresee us ever falling back from that. It's going to continue to grow.
Tully, just do a quick check with you over there in California. What percentage?
Certain brands are better than others. So, for instance, I say our Volkswagen store is probably in the 20s. BMW just started out. Porsche is very limited. Volvo, extremely, especially plug-in. They want to get away from ICE 100%. And then, of course, Acura doesn't have electric car today. But the brands that support electric, you're just like Ed, single digits, double digits, now 20, 30, 40%.
And Kristen, I know you represent many dealers with many different brands at Vanguard there in the Northwest. What are you seeing? Is that percentage continuing to climb?
Of course, it's continuing to climb. And I think similar to what Tully and Ed said, it's brand specific, but it's exciting. And in Seattle, that is the rage. It's not what's coming, it's what's here today. And those are the hottest cars on the market, are those Volkswagens or any of those that someone could get their hands on. That's what people want. That we're there. It's exciting.
It is. Kevin Reed over at Vanguard. I know you've been working on a number of things. We'll talk about them shortly, but talk to us. What are the biggest changes or accelerations or things that you see coming with EVs?
Yeah, thanks, Ted. I think the biggest thing, to kind of piggyback on what Tully and Ed both mentioned, is I think dealers have to take a proactive approach and create that retention package for the EV customer. And I think on the other side of that, from an F&I perspective, I think we really got to spend a lot of time educating our F&I professionals to make sure they understand the intricacies of how an EV vehicle actually works, so we can offer the correct coverages and packages to customers today, such as technology service contracts, subscription maintenance. Some things like that are things that I think we really need to focus on for our F&I professionals, so we can continue to be profitable in those areas.
I like it. Steve Greenfield, Kevin from Automotive Ventures was on the show, and we talked a little bit about some of the things that you have and that you have coming at Vanguard, and very timely from what I hear, from what he, from his perspective in the industry. So, Kevin, great job on getting the jump on putting some of these things into the market already.
Thank you.
Eric, let me come to you. What are you seeing from your vantage point over there at Vanguard?
So I think you're going to see a culture shift inside the store. Everybody on the panel so far is focusing on service, and because they're the ones that are going to get hit with it first. At the sales side, they're going to sell what they have in stock. They're going to collect used cars and sell those. But as the manufacturers start to attack this customer higher up the pipeline, I think you're going to see more new car sales being initiated online, and the dealer is going to be more of a service center for that customer to come pick it up and be introduced to the technology and how to use it. I think that interaction is going to trickle down into the used side, where you're going to have more online purchases via the internet. And then the customers that are in for service, I don't think the services are going to take that long. So they're going to have quicker visits at the store, and then longer waits in between.
And Eric, these are probably not all that bad, some of these things you're talking about in terms of, for the consumer at least.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think the sales staff will like it too. They'll spend less time chasing the customer, and they'll be more time servicing them. Yeah.
And Eric, I think one of the things that we've learned during the last 2.5, 3 years is that a lot of the technology, the ability for the consumer to, to go online and, look at everything they need to do, even make that purchase, that's not all entirely bad. And customers have become comfortable with that. And the same thing, even on the service side, a lot of those technologies, and certainly Tesla has introduced, Eric, a lot of things that are brand new that others now want to adopt as well.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Tesla. They're obviously the market leader in EVs. They started the whole push. But our dealers, their biggest advantage is their sales team and their service team. They're having the dealership. Tesla doesn't have the service that the customers that are buying ICE vehicles and over the past decade are used to and have become accustomed to over the years.
Ed, you and I had a conversation very recently about that same topic, that, while a lot of the manufacturers are looking at that Tesla model, they're not taking into account the fact that the dealers, you as an example with Ford and Lincoln, have built this over the last 100 years. And Tully, you're 100 years in business over there at the Nilo company. But Ed, this model of being able to service and address the customer's needs, talk to us about that a little bit, Ed.
Well, for years, like Eric said, we have the infrastructure for you to come in and do service here at the dealership. But ultimately, not everything will have to be done at the dealership. So it ties into mobile, where we can go out and do it. Where Tesla's on the other side of that, Tesla's can really only come to you mobilely in most places, and not everything can be done mobile. So they're a little bit more challenged on that, where that's where we can fall in line a lot quicker, and it gives us the opportunity to embrace mobile. But also, like Tully said earlier, he talked about the cool factor of it. It really makes it cool to be a technician, and to give that technician a set of keys and say, "Hey, go take care of these vehicles out in field," and not have any downtime. Where while customers at work, we take care of it or whatever else. It helps us increase the ownership experience, or improve the ownership experience, which increases brand loyalty. And when we do that, we all win, and we don't necessarily have to worry about that the vehicle doesn't visit us as often, because we're retaining the ones that we have. We're not chasing new ones all the time.
And Ed, what do you see ahead of us in the near future in terms of the learning curve? Because I know service and parts have been going through that now for some time. What do you see on the sales side? Kevin and Eric we talked a little bit about the F&I side. What do you see in terms of the readiness that we're going to need to be prepared for on that part of the business?
it's really preparing our teams. It's training our teams to where they don't talk ICE vehicles down, and then having products that we can sell in F&I that is prepaid services. It's prepaid charges. It's preparing our customer to have an option to be able to put infrastructure at their home. And it's also preparing our customers not to wait until the last minute, even though they know where a charge station is. As there becomes more and more EVs out in the market, especially Rivian and with us with the Lightning, where we're pulling things, ultimately someone pull up to a charge station with a boat or whatever else, they're blocking the rest of those. And if they wait until the last minute, wait until they get down the last 10% of charge, now all of a sudden they can't get a charge. And there's a little bit of anxiety that comes in there. And what we're all trying to fight now anyway is range anxiety.
Yeah, that's a term that I just learned about recently, Ed, range anxiety. Tully, you share an office with the F&I director for your group. You know, not the norm, not what we've seen historically, you know, in terms of fixed and bringing F&I together. Talk to us a little bit about that, Tully.
Well, I think that, you know, if your culture of your store starts from your dealer that says we are one team, which most stores are not, you know, it took a while for parts and service to be friends. Now it's time for service and sales to be friends, because we are all one team working to drive that repeat referral. But what's nice about having my good friend Dennis at the F&I guy, which is right over there, is that we talk about everything that we're going to sell or do in sales. And he also talks and gives me advice on the service side, because the worst thing you can have is an F&I product that your service department doesn't know anything about. And I think that when we talk about EVs, it's a little different. Now, a lot of processes are going to work. Key. If you lose a key fob, you're crazy not buying a key, right? People want paint protection, rent protection, dit and ding. Those things are still there. It's all about probably more of the extended warranty contracts, which are something we want to sell. And also if there's a maintenance, or if you want to buy a charger of some sort. So having us together, talking about everything before it gets into the service drive is a must. Everybody has to be on the same page. The service advisors need to be excited about, you have a service contract. Oh my God, that's great news. That's going to only be $100 or a disappearing deductible. So having everybody on the same team to make the customer experience great. Because remember, I'll say it many, many times, we're in the repeat and referral business.
Kristen, sense of urgency, creating a sense of urgency for EVs. It's hard to imagine that we would have to create that with all the news that's out there, because everything we read, all these big investments with manufacturers are on the EV side. What do you think we need to focus on, Kristen, as we move forward?
Yeah, I think it's super important to focus on, you know, since COVID, our dealers on their ICE vehicles are making a ton of money, and business has really never been better. So it's easy to rest on our laurels, but that's kind of the opposite we need to do. We need to still be, you know, making hay while the sun shines, making as much as we can right now. But as Ed said, we need to be training. We need to not only be training our employees, our techs, our salespeople, we need to be training our customers also, because how many years did we beat into their head? 3 months, 3,000 miles for your oil change, right? And then it switched to your car tells you when. So we need to be training everyone so that when this kind of bubble that we're in of this, you know, best month ever, best month ever, best month ever kind of bus, we're ready for that next wave. So I think anyone who can get on the forefront, and part of that, what we're doing at Vanguard is trying to prepare people by having the right products, getting some EV maintenance programs, going to different products. You know, I yesterday saw Teslas are, I don't know, 3 out of 10 vehicles you see in my area where I live, because we're a high-tech area. And I saw one yesterday and they have the black rims on them. And every cover of that rim was just beat to crap. I mean, someone was not a very good parker. Why did Tesla, were they not selling a tire and wheel program? Because absolutely the first thing I saw when that car is, you just spent a lot of money on this car. And so we just need to evolve and figure out new programs and new plans and be on the forefront so that we are ready when this really becomes as Ed said, it went from 2% to 4% and now we're in the double digits. Well, that's only going to continue to climb. So we need to be ready for it.
Kristen, I love that. Kevin, from your perspective on the Vanguard side, are those some of the things that we can do to help create urgency for EVs? Because it sounds like Kristen's customers are buying them, and those numbers are only going to continue to increase.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to, I think education is the key to the success of everything that we're doing, which is also going to be part of the development of the products that we come up with that are going to be able fulfill the needs of these customers that are buying EV vehicles. Part of that is, again, education from the standpoint of the technology. One of the things that we talk about with finance and even the sales consultants is utilization of evidence manuals. What are, to help sell a service contract? Well, that's going to be completely different than on an ICE vehicle than it is on an EV vehicle today, because of the additional technology. So you talk about some of those things, and I think those are going to be really important aspects. Finding out what the replacement cost is going to be for these parts, because you're not going to fix them, you're going to have to replace them. So some of those are some of the things that I think we've really got to focus on from an urgency perspective, because the quicker we can educate our people, the better engaged they're going to be able to be with their customers.
Kevin, I love that, creating a sense of urgency. The evidence manual, how strong has that been over the years, right, in our industry? And Kevin, it's still appropriate today, probably even more so than ever before.
Absolutely, especially in terms of the EV vehicles. Tully mentioned the key replacement. Why would we not offer a key replacement or customers acceptance on the key replacement? We need to educate that customer on the replacement cost of that. Kristen talked about Tesla vehicles and the low profile rims that are typically painted rims or chrome or alloy. If you look at most of these EV vehicles, they're very low profile rims. There's a sense of need for the customer in terms of tire and wheel road hazard protection. So there's products in the ancillary buckets that we can fill for these customers that are going to be very valuable for them throughout their ownership experience.
Wow, makes sense. Eric, let me come to you. We're hearing a lot about education and training. Are those some of the strategies that you would recommend a dealership implement, in preparing their staff for EVs?
100%. I think also it's important to remember we're dealing with salespeople, right? And they're money driven. And we always teach our dealers pay plan is job description, right? So you want these guys excited about EVs, put incentives in place, pay maybe a little higher commission on electric vehicles, have contests, spiffs, things like that. I think as they see the different marketing materials going up in the store regarding the new EVs, you're going to see the chargers being installed. They're going to be walking into work and seeing these things happen. So the awareness is going to be there. And then maybe even throw an incentive in there. Like Ed said, if you want a customer to buy an EV, make them drive one, get an incentive in place to upgrade these cars. Get your employees driving these cars so they can talk about it from an experience point of view with the customer.
Wow. Tully, what say you? What do you think?
I think when it comes on the service side is that education is a big deal. As in fixed ops for our technicians, training is a huge deal, right? So we're not allowed to touch the car without a lot of safeguards in place, thank God, because we don't want anybody hurt or killed. But that also drives excitement. So the first time they work on an EV, which is a while ago, the cones come out, the gloves come on, the fancy cap comes on. Everybody's over there like, oh my God, look at this. That is the coolest thing ever, where we're driving that excitement, right? In the shop, which also drives excitement in the service drive, because now that service advisor gets to talk to that customer very passionately about the car, and they're going to be excited about that car. And then, it gets everybody ramped up. So training from the factory is a must. Knowing about the technology in that car is a must at the service writer and technician level. If you do not have it, they will probably not allow you to fix that car or even service that car, which is a huge deal.
Kristen, Tully talked to us a little bit about the training on the fixed op side. Eric talking on the variable side and F&I side. Kristen, I would imagine that's a key component in what Vanguard is doing and preparing to offer out there to the dealerships as well.
Yeah, and I think it's funny how Eric was talking about creating the excitement. I was talking to two dealers last week, both Volkswagen dealers like Tully, and one of them said, oh my gosh, the IE4 is the hottest car we have. We can't wait to get those car deals. We make all the money on them. The customers are excited. Everyone's excited. That's all we want to do. And then I talked to another Volkswagen dealer in a different state, and he said, oh, the IE4s are the worst car deals. We don't make any money on them. And I said, okay, wait, time out. This is in your head, because I just talked to someone else who loves them. So I think creating that that education, that excitement, that enthusiasm, so that people are prepared when they come. Because it just made me laugh about how different people saw that exact same car, which Tully has alluded to is a really hot car. We don't need to give spiffs on that car because everyone wants that car. Every customer wants a car, and those are good, really, really good car deals. So I think it's brand specific, but our job is as a F&I professional is to create that excitement for the people who don't have it and share with them what other people are doing and what are working. So what I did is I went to them, hey, here's this other Volkswagen store, very similar customer. Here's what they're selling. Here's what they're doing. And here's how they're making money, and kind of try to transfer that excitement to them.
And Kristen, I'm hearing a lot now. We're talking about that word excitement. I think this is perhaps a new opportunity for dealers all across the country, across the world, because you know what? We've got an opportunity to create excitement again. And those EV customers who are coming in, Tully likes to say they're the same customer, but you know what? They are excited because they are doing something new. These are early adopters, and now it's becoming more and more mainstream. So I would imagine, Kristen, that part of the training and part of the education is that momentum and excitement. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I think I remember working at Chevrolet stores, and when the first electric vehicles came out, it was like no one would touch them. They had to have giant spiffs. I mean, they were like, you know, the Easter egg that no one wanted, right? The golden egg or whatever. And now they can't keep them on the lot. So I think it's an evolution in time. Like I said, anyone who's in California, Washington, we're probably, 5 years ahead of someone who's maybe Midwest and not seeing them as much, living in techie areas, and people excited about that tech and understanding that tech. So yeah, I mean, it's an evolution, and it's a fun time to be in the business and see this change. And I think it can also bring in a different level of salespeople or technicians, as Ed and Tully have said, maybe younger people, getting them involved in the business and creating. We always talk about the difference between a mechanic and a technician, right? I was always told one has dirty hands and gas, and one uses machines and puts them in, right? You guys probably all heard that. So I think it's a great opportunity to bring new people to the business who might be excited about different things that it can bring to them.
Tully, it looks like you want to jump in. You've got something here.
Well, it's interesting you talk about the excitement. I think that when you look at EVs, as Ed knows, every electric vehicle is sold already, just so you know. There is no electric vehicles for sale on the lots. And the OEMs have done a great job with reservations to build that. And so right now, in the very beginning, we just have to manage the excitement, and the people that want to buy one, that they're going to get one in 9 months to a year, continues that excitement. I think that when you're doing your EV build out, is that we're building out what's going to happen when EVs now become, we have a couple in stock, right? That's what we're talking about. Because right now, selling an EV, you don't need to advertise anything. You just have to say, it's here, come and pick it up and give me the check, please. We want to build the excitement for the next generation of the next people that are going to adopt into it, build that infrastructure, have the security there. That's the future of EV right now.
Love it. Everybody, lightning round to wrap up our panel today. I'm going to start with Eric. I'm going to go over to Kevin. Going to come over to Ed Roberts, then Kristen, and then Tully. I'll have you bring it home. If there is one most important action, Eric, that a dealership can implement today to improve their EV readiness, whether it's on the sales, F&I, service side, what would it be? Eric, coming to you first.
To me, I think it'd be to lead by example. I think if you own a dealership or you're a general manager and you want your team excited and ready, I think you should pony up and buy or lease one and drive it yourself. And all those guys, regardless if they act like it or not, they look up to you. You're the person up here that runs the show. And when they can tell their customer, hey, my owner just got one, and all he does is talk about it, it's charging right over here, why don't we go check it out? I think that goes a long way.
Eric, amen. That ties into a lot of things we're hearing on the roundtable, that it all starts at the top in the dealership with the culture. And if you can make this part of the culture, love it. Kevin, one thing that you think we need to implement?
I think we need to make sure that our staff at the dealership level, from an F&I perspective and a sales perspective, are fully educated on how the EV vehicle works. And to kind of piggyback off what Eric said, the best way to do that is to drive one.
Yeah, love it. Ed Roberts, coming to you over at Bozard Ford Lincoln.
It's simple. Kristen talked about the wheels being beat up. We need to align these things, make sure rolling resistance down. Customers don't know what they need to do on the service side of them. They're excited about getting them, but having the right products in F&I that takes away those pain points from our customer so they have a great ownership experience.
Love it, Ed. Thank you. Kristen, one thing.
Hey, I love what Ed says. Call us at Vanguard. We will set up a plan for you, right, guys? We do have programs available. We want to teach them to it. As Tolia said many times, we are in the repeat and referral business, and ultimately customers are going to go back to the dealership that makes it easiest for them, right? So we want to create programs and create training and do things so that the customer wants to come back to us, whether it's the mobile text like Ed has or making it quicker and easier, the training. We need to be on the forefront of this so that we can continue to get that repeat and referral business. And that's going to start by having the right programs in place when we're selling those cars so we can make the money and bring them back into the service drive.
Kristen, I think we found a new Tully Williams, okay, for the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and Kristen Jones, because Ed, she is singing the praise that Tully always is about the repeat and referral business. So Kristen, I love that. That is fantastic. Tully, bring it home.
I say two things. First, do you have chargers at your store? It is a must. Fast chargers are a must. They are on back order. Make sure you're set up. And then the most important, as Ed and I both know, is we are in a repeat and referral. Setting that appointment is not based on mileage. It is based on time. Tire rotations, cabin filters, come in every year is a must.
Wow, everybody. Great job today. Thank you on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Kristen, if our audience wants to learn more about what they can explore and do with Vanguard Dealer Services and perhaps have that next conversation, Kristen, how do we get a hold of Vanguard and what do we do there?
Yep, we would love to talk to you. You can reach out to us at Vanguard Dealer Services on LinkedIn. You can use our website that's shown down below, our phone number, or you can email me directly, kjones@easyvds.com. And we'd love to talk to you and find out ways to make you some money.
And Kristen and Kevin and Eric, I think we have a checklist that's coming out to our attendees now as well. If you're watching this not live, but later on, perhaps on YouTube, because we're going to replay this there as well, that information is also available. You can go ahead to the email that's on your screen, info@easyvds.com, and you can get a copy of that there. I want to thank everybody on the panel today. I want to thank Eric. I want to thank Kevin. I want to thank Ed. Kristen, the new Tully Williams. Tully, that's it. I think it's all over. And of course, Tully Williams for being with us today on the EV Readiness panel, everybody, hosted by Vanguard Dealer Services. The EV Readiness panel here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.